After 20 years, do you still believe that?
Like I said, yes, I believe in love.
If you had to go back 20 years back or to see any couple, what would you advise them or tell them?
Love is not something you fall in love and it's done.
Like I see a lot of intelligent people looking at the red flags.
Without attachment, then you are choosing with clarity. So once you start getting invested with all these pressures of age, urgency, family pressure, or fear of being alone, fear of losing out on the right one, fear of making a mistake. So when all these fears take up, you get emotionally invested. And after that, you're just hopeful.
Questions or doubts or whatever these things in mind, does it push a person to take the wrong decisions?
Whatever people think, ultimately everything is going to be all right. Let me just...
Is arranged marriage fundamentally different from a love marriage?
Arranged marriage, okay, you meet a few times, you get married. Love marriage, you meet a few times, you fall in love.
Mom, is sexual compatibility something that can be worked through?
Story, Am I feeling like I can be myself, I can share, I can be honest, or am I pretending?
Nobody teaches you how to choose a life partner. Think about it. We have schools for everything. We have training for careers. We have coaching for everything. But the most important decision of your life, the person you'll wake up to next every morning, you're just supposed to figure that out. And most of us get it wrong. Not because we are stupid, not because we did not try, but because nobody ever told us to what actually look for. Today, I'm sitting with someone who has spent 20 years watching what happens when we choose wrong. And more importantly, understanding the why. Richa Khetawat is a relationship counselor who has worked over thousands of people. She has sat with people in their worst moments through anxiety, depression, broken marriages, emotional wounds, and whatnot that took even years to name. Today, we are having conversation most people have too late. How do you choose the right partner? What questions do you ask? What do we miss? And what does getting it wrong actually cost us? क्योंकि ये है असली सोच. Hi Richa ma'am, welcome to the show, and we've been knowing each other for like 8 years now.
Yeah, I think 7, 8 years.
Yeah, and finally we get a chance to share this message with a lot of people. As far as I know, you've been in the industry for 20 years.
Yes, that's right.
And
It's been a long journey.
A long journey, yes.
Yes.
Before we starting, if you could just like to tell the audience, like, what do you do? In what all areas are your specialties?
Okay. So I'm a psychologist practicing for the last 20 years, and I've worked with a lot of clients all across the globe, working with anxiety, depression, relationships, marriage, life transitions, trauma, childhood wounds, and various different kind of things. But I think a lot of people, they do start counseling and therapy once they had a problem with relationships or marriage or breakup or divorce, but it leads them to a different path of healing themselves and looking into patterns of their upbringing, childhood background, and they start a different healing journey after that, which is like very independent of everything else that's happening in their life, and that helps them go forward with fulfilling their dreams and their visions, which is apart from relationships as well. So they start with relationship, but they end up discovering themselves better after getting into therapy and counseling. That's what I've seen mostly.
Ma'am, you've been in the industry for like 20 years. If you had to go back 20 years back or to see any couple, what would you advise them or tell them? If they are about to meet a person, or what would those few things you would have a discussion with them?
To start with, be open, be honest, and don't be in a rush for anything, because we feel that there's no time and life is short, but there's a lot of time. And the less you rush into things, the more you're authentic, you're honest, you're open, you're vulnerable, you can have honest conversations, the easier it becomes for you to find a person with whom you can be comfortable and build a life together. So it's not about finding the right person. There's no right and wrong person. It's about being yourself, connecting with somebody who's also open to connect with you, and then building a life with them. So all of this becomes easier if you're just open, honest, and ready to talk and be yourself without carrying a lot of fears, pressures, and any sense of urgency. So a lot of people, what they want, they feel that we just want to find the right person and just want to fall in love, and then it'll just work out. It'll all work out on its own. It would actually, but love is not something which you fall in love and it's done. It's like a action, it's like a verb, it's like a practice, it's like a thing which you have to do again and again. So you just have to understand that you have a lot of time. It's just the beginning. You're just starting. You're just falling in love. But you have to keep practicing being in love throughout the relationship and keep choosing each other again and again. And the other person should be open enough to do that. So the openness is the most important thing.
Coming to the part, when people say like it's love and then it's everything is figured out. After 20 years, do you still believe that?
Like I said, yes, I believe in love. But love is something that happens to you. And the more you choose it, it'll keep happening to you. So it won't keep happening to you if you say that I'm in love and now life has to be smooth. You'll have to keep choosing to, come back to your partner after every conflict. You'll have to be open to understand what your partner is, trying to, what are their ways of communicating, talking, fighting, their ways of communicating, their emotional needs, their ways of fighting. So if you understand each other better and you're open and honest to understand each other better, then you keep coming back to each other, and that is love. So love is an action. It's a choice. It's a verb. It is not a feeling. It's not an emotion only. It is also a feeling and an emotion, but it's also a choice, an action and a verb. So you have to keep loving. It's not just falling in love once. It's not a one-time thing. It's like, you have to keep loving. So it's a verb. You have to keep doing it again and again and again.
It's like verb. It's an action repeat.
Yeah. The more you practice, the more you get better at it. Like everything else in life.
Very much.
Yes.
When you talk about love in such a way, ma'am, a lot of people are very intelligent, they are very aware of things. They do see, like I see a lot of intelligent people having, looking at the red flags, looking at the warning signs, looking at those alarming signals, but still fall into that. What makes them do that? What goes on in their mind?
There is fear of being alone, pressure of time, age. I'll have to do this all over again. Okay, at least she loves me, at least he loves me. Or nobody's perfect. So you have all these cliches in your mind. And then once you start getting invested a little bit, then you don't love with clarity. You don't choose with clarity. You ignore the red flags because you start choosing with hopefulness.
Okay.
You're emotionally invested, you become hopeful. You fall in love hopefully. You are choosing without attachment, then you are choosing with clarity. So once you start getting invested with all these pressures of age, urgency, family pressure, or fear of being alone, fear of losing out on the right one, fear of making a mistake. So when all these fears take up, you get emotionally invested. And after that, you're just hopeful. And the hope keeps making you choose the same person again and again. And red flags also, what happens with red flags are, they're repetitive. But they're not loud. So they're very subtle, but they're repetitive. So if people just look at red flags as vocabulary, that, okay, the person should not be violent, the person should not have a temper, the person should be open to communicate. But these are just very, they are not really red flags. Red flags would be something like if a person is, is abusive in some way, is not being honest, or is being controlling, or is being manipulative, or is being selfish. These are red flags. But with media and culture, red flags become very surface level things which, have to be loud. But red flags are actually not loud. Yeah. They are repetitive. So even if you're smart, even if you're intelligent, you get emotionally invested and you just start getting hopeful. Okay, this will get better. Let's just get married. Let's just be in a relationship. With time, things will change. So that emotional investment takes a clarity away and fills a person with a lot of hope that, yeah, with time, things will change and things become better. Relationship changes people. Once you're into it, the other person will understand you better and stuff like that. But that's not what happens.
In a scenario like this, when a person is very hopeful that things will change, things will happen better, a lot of people don't really see those red flags because they are more inclined towards the hopefulness of things getting better. For a basic listener, if you have to just point out a few, maybe 3 red flags for a basic understanding for a couple when they're meeting each other, what would you highlight the first 3, ma'am? Whatever comes to your mind.
Like, not being open, not being honest, being dishonest, that is one red flag. And the other red flag would be trying to control and trying to, overpower all conversations or all choices or all decisions. And the biggest red flag would be, what would you do after a conflict? Are you reaching out, not reaching out? Are you avoidant, shutting down? Are you gaslighting and blaming the other person completely? or are you threatening after a conflict? So the biggest red flag is how a person handles stress and disappointment and conflict, because there's no relationship where you won't have conflict repeated number of times till you turn 80 as well. Like, you know, even 50 years of marriage will make you have similar conflicts over and over again. They just get better and, you know, better with time, but conflicts are a part of it. So what happens is, we, with the eagerness of wanting to, you know, be in a relationship, what we don't realize is we just talk about future, the beautiful things and all. We don't realize that the most important topic is, let's see how this person handles stress and pressure and conflict and disappointment and the last one would be criticism. If a person is constantly criticizing, being dismissive, and you know, is being dismissive and critical, that's also a red flag. So a little bit of everything everybody does, but if it's like a pattern where, you know, either a person is controlling or dishonest or critical, or mainly and most importantly avoiding to, you know, repair after a conflict. So these would be the red flags. But boundaries, one more would be boundaries with family and friends.
Very important.
Yeah. So if you know, if you want to be in a relationship, you should understand how to have boundaries with people who are special to you and around you. And so
Ma'am, I mean, like, let's say if a couple has met, and initial phases में ये सब चीज़ें दिखने नहीं मिलती, तो ऐसे ही ये जो red flags हैं, ये सब हैं, how do you have a conversation with them? Like, you know, because many people, they just go like, you know, initially it's very good, beautiful honeymoon phase, but what kind of questions you would advise कि ऐसे questions पूछो ताकि समझ में आए कि you guys are actually spending life together. So initial stages में what kind of questions can partners ask each other to understand each other better, so that the decision comes out better?
yeah, people are very uncomfortable having uncomfortable conversations because those conversations are not romantic. And we obviously want to, you know, not burst the bubble and have unromantic conversations. They're very uncomfortable. But if we don't have these conversations, then later that's how marriages become resentful. So it's very important to have these uncomfortable, unromantic conversations. Starts with something as basic as money. You know, talk about finances, talk about children, talk about, you know, how would you like to share responsibilities, where would you like to live. Try to understand how a person would like to handle conflict. Like, you know, some people would like to communicate and handle the conflict right then. Some people would want more space. So, so understanding the conflict style, and then talking about like friends, family, careers.
क्या questions पूछ सकते हैं मैम? जैसे I'll give you my example. For me, to understand somebody better, I would rather ask them about their childhood. कि childhood कैसा था, किसके साथ ज़्यादा time spend करा है, कैसे रहे हो आप बचपन में. Maybe that will speak a lot about.
Of course, that
So
would.
what do you think? What kind of
Yes,
questions?
that those questions are definitely important, but a person would start opening up only later.
Achha.
So these questions are good, but it's just that, you know, a person might not open up so easily. So trying to understand them more on the basis of different aspects of life.
Okay.
Like whether it is, you know, do you ask them about their emotional needs. That'll be a easier question to ask. They might reply more easily. Like, what would you want to do if this happens? Like, you know, if you end up having an argument, or how do you handle it when something happens with your father or sister or friend, or just trying to ask them emotional needs questions where what do you need, how, like what would be that one thing which, you know, you would want me to do differently compared to what I'm doing today, or what is that one thing which you want to say to me again and again but I'm not able to get it, and what is that one thing that, you know, would make you feel secure in this relationship, or what is that one thing which would make you keep coming back to me again and again. So the emotional needs questions would be easier to start with, and once you have a little connect, yes, you can get deeper and ask about, you know, how has the childhood been, and how has the relationship with their parents and siblings been. But a lot of times people don't have clarity themselves, and they're not ready to open up. So slowly it can be built up. It starts with wanting to understand how you can do better with each other. That's the easier question to ask, and that gives them hope that, you know, you want to know. It's all about curiosity. The more you're curious, the more in depth you can get, and the more emotionally safe the person feels, because till they're safe, feeling safe with you, they might be uncomfortable with a lot of questions.
Possible.
Yeah.
possible. So I think from what you're saying, it doesn't happen. It takes a bit of time.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time. That's why starting with basic questions like career, money, responsibilities, where do you want to live, do you want to have children, how do you sort out, conflict, and morning person, evening person, hobbies, these kind of things. At least you start being open.
Okay.
The whole idea is to be open and to be curious. The more open you are, the more curious you are, the more you want to listen, the more you turn towards, that you tune in into the other person. You start having a lot of conversations. Then you keep checking in with each other, then you keep asking, okay, how do I do this differently? What do you need from me right now? What is that one thing that I can change which, you think would make you trust me? What would make you feel secure? What would make you feel special?
Ma'am,
Needs, biggest needs in relationships, these kind of questions, yeah.
ma'am, like India में कैसा होता है? Like I'm sure you know this better. It's not like saying two people getting married. It's like two families getting married together. Then there is caste, then there is status, then there is one big sentence like log kya kahenge.
Yeah, of course.
With all these things, questions or doubts or whatever these things in mind, does it push a person to take a wrong decision sometimes?
Yes, this is a big part of pressure. And pressure or fear of any kind makes you want to rush, makes you feel like, you don't have a choice. You just have to go ahead with the flow because things will become all right later.
Achha.
Because the biggest thing with Indian community and any, community where family is a big part of the decision making, anything and everything is okay as long as everything is coming together. So we don't really try to have any open conversations, or we don't try to connect with each other. We just see if the boxes are ticked and the families are coming together and everything is fine. So it is definitely a lot of pressure on the person who's making a choice, that whether or not I can be with this person. Mostly a lot of people go ahead with these thoughts that, okay, fine, maybe after marriage everything is going to be fine. And maybe, I'm asking for too much. Because in Indian communities, what has happened while growing up is that you were asked to adjust. It's okay. You can adjust. Things will be fine. Be the bigger person. Don't have so many needs. It's okay. Everything is okay. As long as everything is going with the flow, it's okay. We are there for you. It's okay. We have done it. You can do it. So there's a lot of shrinking of needs and shrinking of personality. So we are asked, as a community, we are asked not to take space. So we just suppress our needs and emotions and feelings and go ahead with pressure. And yes, a lot of times we make a choice to, go ahead with something we're not aligned with. And it's not the wrong person that we end up getting married to. It is just that we don't have tools to keep coming back to that person and repairing, because it's not our choice. We've not had the conversations which are required. But things are changing now in India as well. And not a lot of conversations still happen, but some conversations have started happening. So if a person tells himself or herself that I'm the one who's going to spend the rest of the life with my partner, and let me give this some time and not rush into it, and it's okay, whatever people think, ultimately everything is going to be all right. Let me just focus on my needs and my feelings. People can start owning up their needs and feelings and make better choices.
But still curious to understand, ma'am, like when people get married because of this pressure rather than their real choice, what does that do to both the people in the marriage?
Silence or fights. I'm not saying each marriage is like that. Sometimes you get lucky. But a lot of marriages, you just suffer in silence because you think you just have to. Because now we are married, now what else is there to do? And everybody has adjusted, so we also have to adjust. So either you start having, there are two patterns which are, let's say there are three patterns which are possible. One is, they, because of misunderstanding, because they've not had the conversations, they don't have alignment, they don't understand each other. Things were rosy because while getting married, you talk about the marriage, how the marriage is going to be, where we're going to do, who we're going to invite, how we're going to look, and all of that takes precedence. And the financial angle of the marriage and everything related to the marriage is the most important discussion which people have right after 2-3 conversations.
Okay.
Mostly that's how Indian marriages work. Like, you have very few conversations, a lot of conversations just related to basic things about, what are you looking for in a guy, what are you looking for in a girl, my family, your family, this, that, very basic stuff. Maybe you start expressing some emotions that, you look nice and this and that. Nothing major, nothing beyond the surface level. And then when you get married, after you start having conflicts and issues, one way people handle conflict when they're not in alignment is one person keeps both keeps trying to find out whose fault is it.
Okay.
You know, you both are just thinking about the same thing, that whose fault is it, whose fault is it, and both keep pointing, and you get stuck in that circle. Another thing is maybe one person is feeling too overwhelmed with all of this and cannot understand how to handle the conflict, so he or she just needs space and time, and the other person keeps poking. Third way is both don't know what's happening and they are feeling very stressed and overwhelmed with the entire thing, and they just keep distance, and in silence they keep suffering. And these conflicts over a period of time, if you do not have if you don't find a way to turn towards each other and understand each other's emotional needs, you know, it could be as simple as one person just wants more space and one person likes to talk. This could just create a lifelong of misery.
Wow.
As long as you don't understand that it's okay, you know, we can figure this out. But just the whole idea that I don't want to talk so much and, you know, I need space after a conflict can actually lead to a very unhappy marriage where both are feeling miserable. If they start having conversations about, you know, things right from the beginning, they know she has my back, he has my back. Then you trust each other. So if a little bit of trust is built before marriage, it saves you from, you know, having a lot of issues after marriage.
I think, yeah, trust is definitely a big thing. But ma'am,
and also in Indian marriages, the whole boundaries with family thing as well, you know, for everything, people have to kind of, or a lot of people do still ask their parents.
yeah,
And that threatens their spouse, lack of boundaries with families. It happens with both genders. And it's not only a gender thing anymore, you know. Earlier on, we did feel like, you know, men are more, you know, men have lesser boundaries with their parents, but women also have lesser boundaries with parents. In Indian community, boundaries is a big problem with families.
Yes.
And also, because families get involved, people think it's okay to handle conflicts disrespectfully. And you know, if you have anger issues, then it's okay, it's just temper. Or you know, a lot of things are just minimized and like it's okay, everything is just okay. So because of that, you end up building a lot of resentment, because everything just gets brushed into saying that it's okay because log kya kahenge. So just keep it aside, just keep going on with the thing. So yes, it does. Boundaries is a very important thing which I think gets missed in the Indian context a lot.
Speaking of the Indian context, ma'am, what comes to my mind is like, you know, before marriage, when a couple is, you know, let me put it this way, like what I believe is like, you know, a husband and wife before marriage or a couple is one union.
Yeah.
And then it's against the whole world. That comes like, you know, हम दोनों मिलके life के decisions लेंगे. But family है, then there are brothers and sisters and all these things. So how much of an impact it has on a couple, like, you know, from involving of parents, involving of brothers, sisters, how much does that impact in a marriage? Like Indian society में ये माना जाता है. But what is your complete call on this? Like how do you see this?
Yes, there is a lot of involvement and overlapping of boundaries from parents, from siblings, and from all currents of life. And sometimes these do not end in, you know, healthy boundaries. So, you know, lot of Indian couples think that it's okay to discuss their deep wounds and pains and hurts with their families and siblings and everything, but it's not, because, you know, after all, like you said, me and my partner is a unit. So I will forgive my partner will forgive me. But if we keep on discussing these things outside of our unit, then other people might not forgive, because for them, for parents, their son is obviously more important, and for parents, their daughter is more important. So you start developing a little bit of resentment, disrespect with, you know, your son-in-law or your daughter-in-law, and then that leads to difficulties in the couple, because the boundaries have been crossed, issues have started. Now because of those issues, the couple start fighting. So there is a lack of clear boundaries in Indian societies with families and siblings, and a lot of deep wounds between a couple, which needs to stay between a couple, actually get discussed without consent of their partners. So sometimes, yes, you know, you both are going through a tough phase, you want to talk it out with someone, that's a very different thing. You know, that's done very consciously. And you know you can trust. Like, you know, if you want to talk to a friend or a sibling, your partner is also comfortable. You know that, yeah, she talks to her sister, or she talks to her brother, or he talks to his brother or friend. You know the limit. But when they're overlapping of boundaries and there's no limit, then you'll tell every gory detail and everything. So that really causes a lot of difficult relationships between you know, in-laws on both sides, and causes a lot of interference. That creates friction between the couple. But even before marriage, even people when they're single, the pressure of taking the decision which is in accordance with the family is very high. So the partner has to be of your, you know, should look a certain way, should be from a certain family, should be from a certain caste, and you know, should have certain values. But all of those things might not be a priority for the person who's looking at marriage.
Yes.
And you might want a lot of other nuances which are more important. These could be surface level important, but not as much. Maybe other things where, you know, there's emotional connection, you're able to talk and share, there's openness, and you know, it's easy to build up trust. You share similar values of lifestyle choices and future dreams and goals. What do you want to do? How do you want to live? Where do you want to live? You want to have children? You do not want to have children? These things are just not discussed because there's so much family pressure to just look at caste, financial status, and looks somewhere, and also how much the alignment is there with families. Because of that, a lot of these nuanced things gets lost in the whole process, and out of pressure, out of what people will say, out of age running out, out of, oh, I have to go through this process again and again, and maybe I'm asking too much. I'm supposed to adjust because we're raised in a way that, you know, we're supposed to adjust. So maybe I'm being a bit much, maybe I'm being this, maybe I'm being that. Let me just, you know, go with the flow. And that pressure makes you just make a decision when you're not ready.
So, ma'am, what would you advise when a person is going through all these things? So, for an individual who's looking towards a partner, how would you ask him to look towards things for his own maybe betterment? It may sound selfish, but how does an individual has to look at so that he's spending the next 50 years? तो क्या क्या चीज़ें वो देखनी चाहिए या तरीका क्या है उसको देखने का कि मैं यहाँ से better decisions ले सकता हूँ?
It should come from self-trust and self-confidence. And it is not selfishness. In fact, it is a lot of self-love, self-care, and self-esteem.
Okay.
Because if you are not going to look at yourself and look inwards and take a decision from your full heart and openness, then you're going to cause misery for the family also later. Because if you're unhappy, ultimately it's going to come in, show it in the family as well. So be authentic, be honest, be open. Don't be in a rush, don't be in a hurry, take your time, and see whether you're emotionally connecting or not, whether the person you're talking to is able to talk back with you in a way that, you know, you understand. You're able to listen to your partner or not. They are able to listen to you or not. And, what do they think about money, children, career, geographical locations, families, boundaries. Be invested in knowing the partner, and be open in sharing. Don't pretend, because a lot of people pretend in the beginning because they just want to score the person.
Yeah.
So a lot of pretension happens. So just be yourself, just be open, just be honest, and just go thinking that I want what I want, and I will wait for it, and there's no hurry, and it's okay, because ultimately I might have to go through this whole process again and again now, but it's very temporary. We do that with careers. We don't just get stuck to one job because it's doing well. We grow. We look out. We do so many things to make sure that we keep growing. So we don't get stuck in one space in other aspects of life. So why do we have to be so scared of looking out again and again? Because only if we explore, only if we look out again and again, then you can be yourself. You'll know yourself better through the process. Nobody knows themselves as well. So you'll know yourself better through the process, and then you'll be able to make a choice which comes from within. One question you can ask yourself when you're making a choice is, am I doing this out of pressure or fear, or I really like this person?
Okay.
So that's a very good question to ask yourself, because you never know till you ask yourself. When you start asking questions to yourself, you'll realize, oh yeah, I was really scared. I was really pressured, and I was just in this rosy bubble. I was not able to see through it. When you ask yourself the difficult questions, that are you scared? Are your needs being met? Do you really like this person? Is there something you're not thinking about? And there's more clarity. The more you trust yourself and ask questions to yourself, there's more clarity.
In all these things, ma'am, it takes a lot of time. So, I see a lot of marriages that, they meet the couple for 3-4, they meet the families or meet the girl for 3-4 times, and then the elders take a decision ki chalo in a few months.
Few months is good enough. See, nowadays at least you meet them few times. It's not like
Acha.
before where you just see the biodata and talk once, meet once, and you get done. Nowadays, even people from very conservative families, they are meeting a few times.
Okay.
You meet 3-4 times. You talk few times before meeting. You continue to talk while meeting. So it gives you. The problem is not the time. Because I think you're getting a few months to take a decision. What's happening is you're so pressured to take the decision that you're not open.
Okay.
You're not honest. You're not asking. You're not curious. Curiosity is the most important thing. You're scared. If I say this, what will she think about me? What will the family think about me? If I say that, what will he think about me? So you're very pressured and scared about, being yourself. So you pretend. And you're rushed. You're rushed not because of time. You're rushed because you feel that, okay, every other day your parents will ask you, did you talk to her? Did you talk to him? How did it go? Ab kya hai? Shall we take it forward? That pressure is the problem. Parents are allowing you to meet 3-4 times. But in between those 3-4 times, the number of times there is pressure to say yes or say no, that pressure makes you feel scared. What if now I say no? What if this? So because you are stuck in that loop of questions that what should I do, what should I not do, should I say yes, should I not say yes, what if my parents, I disappoint them, what if they go through so much stress because of me, and because of all of that, you're not able to just be yourself. So if you can try to keep the pressure and fear aside, know your parents are on your side, your parents are also on your side. It's not like, they want something different for you. You want to get married, they want you to get married, so you're all in the same team. So if you're not scared of your parents going through a lot because of you, if you take up space and be yourself and explore your needs, so it's okay, meet 3-4 times, talk 3-4 times, that's all right. We're not talking about, taking years to decide. In fact, it's good to take a decision soon rather than late, because, then maybe, you're just not, you're just scared, you're just looking for that perfect person who perhaps does not exist. So I don't think timeline is such a big issue. 3 to 6 months is great.
Okay.
Beyond 6 months is not required if you have really been invested.
Okay.
And just that in those 3 to 6 months, be yourself, be more authentic, be more open, be more honest, be more curious.
Also, knowing the person is an important factor. Also, when you actually physically spend some time together is where you actually get to know the person more. Just spending the day or maybe going on a vacation together. Conservative societies are still big no for all these things. But for a couple, before marriage, do you think all these things can help the relationship or the marriage in a long term better? And how do you see this happening?
Of course, physically spending time makes you understand the vibe between the two of you, makes you have your own, humor and repair happening between the two of you. It puts things at ease. It makes you more honest and more vulnerable. So it's obviously, a very good way of doing it. And yes, unfortunately, that's still not happening so much, so frequently. So yes, if people could either choose a partner privately, like in the sense that, you don't have to tell everything to your parents. You can go choose a partner and, once you're more ready to tell your parents, that's when you tell your parents. It is not very different from the traditional arranged marriage. It's more like a choice marriage. You go explore people. You talk to different people, and when you start liking somebody, you talk to different people with the idea of, let me just connect with the opposite gender to see if I can get married. So with the matrimonial apps, or the dating apps, you meet people. You don't really get stuck that I have to get married to somebody soon. I have 3 months, I have 6 months, I have 1 year. Rather than that, just be open to meet people. Your parents will introduce you to people. You meet people through dating apps or through matrimonial apps. And maybe through friends, maybe friends. Just be open with the idea and don't get stuck with the pressure that I have to get married soon. Without that sense of urgency, just trying to connect. And once you start knowing somebody and getting connected with somebody, take your time to involve your parents. And you can have some boundaries with your parents where you only tell them what is required to know, or be more open with your parents if you can. Either way, yes, spending more time with people. See, the idea is not timeline. So it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. That's not the problem. 6 months are good enough. Idea is the quality time. Without pressure, without fear, without that. If I don't say yes, I'll lose out on this person, I'll be alone, I'll have to start this process again. If I don't say yes, then my family will be disappointed. If I don't say yes, I'm running, all my friends are getting married and, I'm not married. So without all those pressures and fear, if you meet 5 times, it's the same. If you meet 15 times, it's similar. I'm not saying more time will not give you more, but that is not so important. How important it is to do what you want to. Don't be pressured. Don't be scared. You want to meet. Tell your parents how much they need to know, or talk to them openly. Do either, depending on the personality type. What works in your family, what does not work in your family. But you have to choose. You have to make your own choice. It is your choice. End of the day.
Also, ma'am, like, is arranged marriage fundamentally different from a love marriage and the kind of problems it produces?
See, problems, whether it's arranged marriage or love marriage, the only difference is that you get time to know the person better. But even in a love marriage, the problem is that once you get emotionally invested with a person, like I said in the beginning of our discussion today, that hope takes over clarity.
Okay.
So once you start having problems in a love marriage also, rather than understanding how to sort it out, how to listen to each other and turn towards each other, and be more open and honest, what you end up doing is that you keep thinking in your mind, this person will change, this person will change, this person will change, and then that puts you in the same circle of distance and conflict. And even in arranged marriages, if that is the case, like you didn't get to know the person well, that happens. So whether it is love marriage or arranged marriage, having the right conversations is important before. So here, arranged marriage, okay, you meet a few times, you get married. Love marriage, you meet a few times, you fall in love. In both the cases, the honesty is not happening.
Yeah.
The open and honest conversations are not happening. So arranged marriages are good as long as you're choosing a partner with less pressure, not thinking about what people will say, what your family will say, who you'll disappoint. Are you getting older? Are you getting younger? Without those questions. Love marriage is also good with the same questions in mind, that do I really love this person in a way that my best comes out? Or I feel safe with this person. I feel, one big question to ask yourself is, do I feel emotionally safe with this person? Like, can I share my feelings with him or her? Can I share my deepest needs and fears? Can I be myself with this person? If something goes wrong tomorrow, will this person stand by me? So these questions are important whether it's a love marriage or arranged marriage. Otherwise, the moment emotions come into the picture, whether it's love or arranged, that makes you hopeful rather than clear. So both has their pros and cons. In arranged marriages, you're doing it quickly because of age and pressure and people and all. In love marriages, you're doing it quickly because, investing quickly, not marrying quickly. Investing quickly because of you're already emotionally attached. So the attached takes away the openness in a love marriage. And in arranged marriage, the pressure of the family and society and everything takes over. So the idea in both the marriages is take your time, don't rush, be open, ask yourself the right questions, that how do you feel with this person? Is your best coming out?
What are the right questions an individual can ask themselves? Like, I'm sure you've said, like, be honest to yourself, not out of, fear and all. But any tools where a person sits before taking that big decision कि ये सवाल अपने आप से honestly पूछो. ये tool है. If you have to give the audience, like, these are the small tools where you can actually use it with your own self before taking or jumping onto that decision.
Yes, how do I feel with this person? Do I feel seen? Do I feel supported? Do I feel understood? Do I feel emotionally safe? Do I like this person enough that, after a conflict, I feel like going back to this person? Is this person making me feel respected and heard? So being seen, being supported, being heard, being respected are the needs that everybody has.
One important thing that comes to my mind right now is, like, when in all these things, communication, it's such a big word these days, communication rakho, communication rakho. Having those uncomfortable questions also is a way of having a conversation with your partner. But what is communication in this relationship, ma'am? How do you actually communicate? Because there is a way I see कि, like, एक person को इस तरीके से समझ में आता है, B person को this तरीके से समझ में आता है. What is communication? How important this is in every relationship? Before marriage, after marriage, communication is vital part. But from your 20 years of experience, how, if you can just elaborate on that?
So yes, you're right that communication is very important, but at the same time, in communication, listening is also important. So if a person does not talk much, then whatever little they are talking, if the other person is curious,
Hmm.
then they'll be able to open up in their own way.
Mhm.
So, for communication to happen properly, because some people can communicate very easily and express very easily, some people find it very hard to be open with their communication because that's not how they've grown up. It's very different in different families, you know, how safe you feel to communicate. So, the biggest thing for communication is the safety part. That when I'm talking, are you curious to listen to me? You're not being dismissive or judgmental. If you're curious, I might be able to open up. So listening means being curious, not being judgmental, not being dismissive, and being able to see what the other person is saying without putting your own judgment and bias into it. So that part of communication is the most important, that, you know, is the other person curious about you, wants to know you, is not being dismissive or judgmental, and really is invested in knowing you. So if you are able to listen and share, this is the listening part. The sharing part is the one I was telling you earlier, you know, being very open and honest about your needs. Like, you know, if you do this, I'll feel nice. If you do this, I feel this. So, you know, can you please do this for me? Like being open about your needs, feelings, fears, and the other person being curious is a big part of communication. But communication also becomes better if there's another thing, which is emotional regulation. Like, you know, if you keep on, like, you know, you get upset. It's very natural. When you're communicating, you get upset. Then you regulate yourself and come back and talk again. So and then the other, like, if there is emotional regulation, then you can repair. So we keep highlighting that communication is the main issue. But communication is not just speaking in Hindi or English or any other language. Communication involves having safety, being curious, listening, and coming back and repairing. The coming back and repairing is also a big part of communication. Because if you shut down, if you avoid, you become dismissive, you become judgmental, or you react, or, you know, you are actually fighting about something else, but you want to say something else. So these things also take away communication. So for communication to happen properly, you need to have emotional safety and curiosity, and you need to come back to the partner with repair. So like people say, or like I would like to say, that conflicts people can survive.
Okay.
But what makes a person stay with the other person is after a conflict wanting to come back to you again and again. So the staying with the person, wanting to come back again and again with the person is a big part of how communication has been handled. Like, you know, if you have the need to come back to the other person, not because you're scared that I'll lose this person, but because, yeah, I know, she's on my side, he's on my side, kind of a thing.
Ma'am, we've raised in a society, since you're speaking so much about communication, in a society where men are being told, you know, rona nahi, be the man, do the work, put your needs aside, kaam karo. But when it comes to the relationship, a lot of men find it very difficult to express the emotional side. Rather than they just stay silent or probably just chill about it. But whereas women, they maybe expect that emotional conversation and all. And as you starting me, you said, ki, you know, understanding the emotional need of a partner is very important. What would you advise the, you know, young generation? Ki, how do they communicate that vulnerable emotional communication in a way that they themselves don't feel, you know, scared or something?
Keep pausing a lot in your conversations, because the moment you don't understand what to say, or you're feeling intensely about something, you don't know what to say, you're feeling very unsafe, you feel like shutting down, you feel like running away, your body is tensing, your mind is racing, keep pausing. Because a shutdown happens because, you know, you don't give a pause to yourself that what do I actually want. So you shut down. Or maybe, you know, you don't realize, but your mind is racing and your body is feeling tense. And that is why you are not able to speak or express and you're shutting down. So keep pausing and asking yourself, how are you feeling? And then once you start being more expressive with your own self, you keep pausing, you keep asking yourself how you're feeling and what do you need. Then you can get very specific with communicating with your partner. I'm feeling this, and then, you know, I'll feel nice if this happens. Can you do this for me? This kind of stuff. But this is the part of the person who's not communicating well. For the man, like you said, a lot of men, yes, find it very hard to communicate in Indian households. For the woman in this kind of an equation, she will have to, if she really would like the man to communicate, provide the emotional safety, where she's more, you know, warm and comforting. The glances, the you know, body language is very comforting. Do not use any dismissive tone or you know, or judgmental language, and try to be curious.
Okay.
So the more the other person is curious, the more a person opens up and talks. And if you don't like something, you can talk about it later, but let the person express. Create a safe environment for the person. So you can talk about these fighting styles. See, some people like to, you know, the moment you have an argument, some people just want to vent it out. Some people want to take time and hide. So if both are respected, like if you both understand, one person understands this, the other person needs to talk, so he or she will talk. So let him vent out, let him say something, and then the other person understand, okay, she heard me, now let me give her space. Then, you know, if you understand each other's needs, then the explosion won't happen. If you think, okay, why does he want space, why does he have to always talk like this, then you're not understanding each other, you're not honoring from where the person is coming, because everybody has a childhood experience. Everybody has their childhood wounds and patterns. So you are raised a certain way, you have certain genetics, and you have certain childhood traumas. So you would naturally tend to have your own way of, you know, wanting to solve a conflict, find safety, and take your time. So honor each other's spaces and patterns and give each other comfort. When you are okay with how the other person is and not make a big deal about it, explosion won't happen. So this is different to, you know, taking abuse. I'm not saying that it's okay to be abused. Abuse is different from, you know, a person venting out, a person taking space. Space is not the same as neglect. Venting out is not same as very aggressive behavior. So as long as you understand from where the other person is coming, and you honor each other's way of fighting, way of conflicting, and way of communication, you'll be more safer for your partner to come back to you.
Interesting point you raised, ma'am, ki childhood trauma, How much does it impact, you know, a childhood trauma for a person growing up or looking into his relations or getting, you know, in a phase of about to get married or something? Childhood trauma कितना impact करता है?
It has a huge impact. It is one of the most huge thing that, you know, we bring with ourselves. Ironically, we come from a certain family and we have a certain status and caste and culture, and we just look for those things, if those are matching or not. But that's very small part in the whole system, and the very big part is, you know, what are you carrying with you? What is the weight that you're carrying throughout life? And everybody is carrying some weight.
100%.
Somebody could be carrying a little more intense, little bit lesser, but everybody is carrying some unhealed wounds. And why they come out in marriages and when you're looking for marriages, because those are the most intimate spaces after family. Because, you know, you don't really, friendships are there, but mostly, you know, a lot of friendships do not evolve to such a stage where childhood wounds play out a lot. Some friendships do, but most of the friendships do not come to that level, and you end up replaying your childhood wounds in your search for a partner as well, because your fears come out, your pressures come out, your insecurities come out, the way you handle your emotions come out, and all of this is coming from your childhood wounds and trauma.
Let's say a couple has met. They have spent some time. अभी शादी के लिए भी बात होने वाली है, or they're in that phase. And childhood wound, as you said, is an important factor. And for me, I as a person, I make sure कि मैं सामने वाले का समझूं childhood, because that speaks a larger portion of a person's life. Because it might come up to a certain state कि like the person might react in that way because childhood में ऐसा हुआ. As a partner, how do we communicate the childhood part? Or it might take time. Or what are the things that can, like, what kind of conversation a couple can have between them?
You can start asking these questions when there's more safety and comfort, that, you know, how was your childhood? What stands out as, you know, good moments, and what were the difficult moments, and who do you look up to? What kind of relationship you have with your father? What kind of relationship you have with your mother, with your siblings? And, you know, how was love expressed in your household? How was conflict handled in your household? How, you know, did you express your emotions? How did you express your emotions and needs? What happened when, you know, you were feeling disconnected or unhappy? Or, you know, like these kind of questions. But yeah, it takes time to get there. But yeah, those are very nice questions to ask somebody. If you reach there and you're able to comfortably ask these questions, then, you know, you've definitely crossed a lot of barriers to vulnerability.
Okay.
You start becoming more vulnerable, more open. This is the most authentic that you can be.
Achha.
Because you are raw. Then, you know, you are speaking about fears and needs. You're speaking about patterns which are being carrying right from your childhood. And you understand what kind of then you start understanding why the person needs what they need, why they behave the way they are behaving. That does not mean you excuse bad behavior,
100%.
but you start understanding so you can support your partner. You can say that, I understand this is how you're feeling. So, like for example, if a person that has gone through some sort of, a neglect or abandonment in their childhood, and if they feel very anxious, whenever they're feeling anxious, if the partner keeps reassuring that it's okay, I understand you're feeling anxious, but it's going to be all right, something on those lines, then the partner obviously starts healing somewhere, because relationships create safe spaces where healing from your childhood wounds happens. And also it does not come in the way of your relationship then. And if the other person, let's say, was raised in a place where there was a lot of abuse, so maybe the person becomes independent, hyper independent. So in that case, whenever the person is shutting down or taking space, if the partner is able to say that it's okay, I understand that you need space, and but I'm here for you, you can come back to me. So this way, rather than getting threatened by each other's childhoods, you honor each other's childhoods by knowing that why the person is doing what they're doing. So how was love expressed? How were emotions expressed? How was conflict handled? What were the best moments? What was celebration like? What is your story? What would you say? What made you who you are today? What are the things you're carrying from your childhood in terms of positives, like, the strengths that you're carrying, the weaknesses that you're carrying, and, what is a dream that you have? What do you want to, what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now with me? Or, dreams, your own personal dreams for life. Those kind of things. So these questions definitely are very deep and nice to ask, but unfortunately a lot of people are not so open and honest. So it starts with the idea of, it's a body response. So mind and body actually work together. So when we meet people, because of the pressure, fear, insecurity, our bodies are very closed off.
Yes.
Our mind is always rushing in loops, and we are very shut down and all of that, or we are anxious, scared. Rather than that, if you're just open, relaxed, vulnerable, honest, mind is also relaxed, like body and mind is in tune. You're not performing, you're not scared of losing, you're not scanning to know if something is wrong. You're just there, present in the moment. Then you can ask the right questions, because you'll just be comfortable with yourself. You'll be present with yourself, and then you can just easily ask the right questions.
Major of it comes from a place where, when a couple is compatible. But nobody defines it, ma'am. What does it take for a person to understand whether there is actually a compatibility or attraction?
So for a lot of people who are single today, when they get excited about seeing someone, they think this excitement is chemistry, and this excitement is compatibility. But this attraction, chemistry could just be, something which you're feeling because you're unsure. There's a lot of uncertainty. And there's a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of pull, there's a lot of chase. So because of these intense emotions of, chasing, performing, back and forth, being unsure, being uncertain, you could feel a lot of chemistry. And that might feel like attraction. So attraction or chemistry is good to maybe, let's say, fall in love or feel very good about yourself. But what sustains a relationship and converts it into marriage is compatibility, which is very different from attraction. Compatibility is, understanding each other's, what you value in life. Like one of the values that you could have is, like I like to talk a lot, and the other person could have a value that I like to be very independent. So these values are not really matching. Or lifestyle choices, like, you're a late night person, a party person, one person is into fitness or early morning thing, one person is into traveling, and family boundaries and issues with boundaries, money. These kind of things are actually the ones which sustain compatibility. So compatibility is built, it is not something which is there. So like I said earlier, love is something you fall into, but you have to keep repeating it again and again for compatibility to be built in. Compatibility is not something, okay, we meet 2-3 people, this is the right person, we choose them because we are compatible. We are open to build compatibility and talk and have open conversations, and then compatibility sustains the connection.
So can compatibility be built over time?
Yes, compatibility is built over time. But there has to be the inclination from both sides.
Okay.
So if one person is closed off and just feels that ho jayega, with time it'll all become all right, then compatibility won't be built. And the other person will try and get exhausted. That's how a lot of relationships, one person is carrying a lot of burden and is going on trying to manage the relationship, to see the future and to see if you both understand each other and get the relationship through. But why the compatibility is not building is the other person is not realizing that the work has to come from both sides. So the compatibility has to be built with both people being at least somewhere equally invested in building the compatibility.
Yeah. What are the 3 areas you would say are a must for, in terms of compatibility for a marriage to work?
See, definitely attraction, chemistry is very important. Other is emotional needs being met, emotional connection, where you feel seen, supported, heard, understood, listened. And the third one is lifestyle choices like kids, money, what do you like to, what is a life well lived for you. So physical attraction is the first one, second is emotional connection, third is lifestyle choices. Emotional connection includes communication styles, fighting styles, everything, those kind of things that we were talking about earlier. Physical attraction, chemistry definitely is very much important, but that is also built over time. We should not be looking at something where we just meet the person and there's attraction. Because that could just be the intense rush and the fear and the pressure of, I want this person. It might not be attraction only. So attraction, emotional connection, lifestyle choices all coming together.
A combination of
combination would be the right.
Majority of the, there is a phase where every individual comes and where it says, ठीक है यार, looks का क्या करना है, character matter करता है, उसका nature, personality matter करता है. But attraction is a very big factor where people, try to neglect it. What would you think, ma'am? How important is it? Like
I think attraction is...
Emotional and lifestyle choices, yes, it's the most commonly discussed. But attraction is an important part. How would you like to...
Attraction is a very important part in a relationship. If you do not feel attracted to your partner, you're not going to be motivated to put in the efforts, to invest in that partner and, to make it work. It will fall away and, you would definitely look out of, you would get demotivated and look out for escapes, or, you look out for validation from somewhere else. Maybe it would hurt your ego as well. So attraction is very important. But attraction, how it's commonly understood, it's not only about looks.
Yeah, okay.
So we feel that if somebody is very good looking, we get attracted to them. But that does not necessarily happen. And maybe it happens for a few days, for a few weeks. But attraction can be built over time because it's a package.
Okay.
Because, it depends on what we get attracted to. So some people get attracted to mental stimulation. Some people get attracted to fitness.
Okay.
Some people get attracted to grooming. Some people get attracted to good emotional conversation. Some people get attracted to doing things together. But some people do get attracted to looks. But in looks also, we feel it's only looks, but it's also the chemistry. So are you able to build the chemistry together? Are you having fun together? Is there physical chemistry? When you're doing things together, do you feel like, being close to the person, this proximity, you feel like touching each other? So chemistry is more important than only the looks. You might have the looks, but you might not have the chemistry.
Chemistry, for sure.
And you might not realize after meeting a person for 2-3 months, you might not realize, first time when I saw her or I saw him, I didn't think he was this attractive, but today I find him very attractive. So everything, I think everything takes time, because what comes in the beginning is just a rush of intensity, which is your own fear, pressure, insecurity, which you're projecting on the person and finding them attractive. Or just because the person is not available and you're chasing them, and that might just make them look attractive. So the intense rush and emotion could be many things, and we should not just take it as attraction, while building attraction is very important.
Speaking of attraction, ma'am, I'm sure you've met like millions of couples right now, but do you see failed marriages after certain where, couple lose attraction in each other and it goes to a downside? Or have they built it from there as well? Like, do you recollect any of these things?
Yes. So marriage is not marriage is not something where we end up with happiness. If we just look at it as marriages, like in India especially, we feel that if you're not married, you're a failure. So marriage is a compulsion, it's a mandate. So we think it's a ticket to happiness. But if we see marriage as a place for growth, a place where it's not about finding one perfect person, but it's about two imperfect people finding ways to coexist with each other, giving each other space to grow and not compete and win as people, then we want to keep building it up. So whenever it becomes difficult, sometimes we lose physical attraction, sometimes we are going through our own issues, sometimes something else happens. All of these times, it's not about, oh, now this is lost, so now this won't work anymore. You have to always try to make it work, but only if two people are interested. One person cannot try to make it work. So if two people want to invest, if your physical attraction is falling down, you'll make it work. If some financial issues are happening, you'll make it work. If communication problems are happening, you'll make it work. If there's intensity, transparency, accountability, communication, you can make things work. But the only thing is the willingness has to be from both sides. So one-sidedly, one person cannot make a marriage work or a relationship work. And when things fall apart, what more often than not happens is not that the attraction is lost. It's the one person's willingness to make it work has gotten lost. And if you have check-ins every week or every month, where you check in, how is it going, how are you feeling, and do you want to say something to me, is there something I'm missing, or do you think we should do this, or something else that you would like to suggest. So if these check-ins go on, it's very difficult to fall apart, because you're always in touch with what's happening with the other person.
Ma'am, nobody really, at least in India, nobody really speaks about physical intimacy. And sometimes, you probably see what happens post-marriage is sometimes expectations do not match. How big does it actually play a role in a marriage, or, for it to survive?
So physical intimacy is one of the biggest thing that is very important in a marriage. And if you really like each other and you're comfortable talking openly with each other and you like being around each other, there's attraction, then if you get into a marriage, you'll obviously there'll be chemistry, there'll be expectation worked out, because you'll give that comfort even if things do not work out. We'll figure it out. So if there is that basic likeness towards each other, attraction towards each other, and chemistry, that is obviously important to understand before you get married, then you'll make it work, because you like each other and there's attraction. But physical intimacy is very important to feel before marriage, like am I feeling attracted, am I not feeling attracted, am I feeling nice, am I not feeling nice, am I interested, am I not interested. So without the attraction and chemistry, yes, you might be going in for something very closed off, and then you don't realize, oh, this was the missing part, and then it's too late, because then the guilt takes over, that I'm not able to adjust, and this person is so good, but I'm not able to adjust. But something does not have to be wrong with the person for you to not like that person. Just you don't have the connection, the emotional connection. When they're talking, you don't feel excited. When you are sharing, they don't feel curious. So it's just not working out.
Mom, is sexual compatibility something that can be worked through, or does it silently, destroys the relationship?
It can be worked through. It is a part of the entire couple story, unless and until you obviously have some physical health issues, some sexual health issues, which might need medication, which might need therapy, and all of that. That also a lot of them can be worked into. But if you're talking about a regular sexual life where you've not seen any problems, then it's more about a lot of times, you're not comfortable enough to talk about your needs and feelings. That is why things do not work out. A lot of times you're not comfortable with the person, because there's so many fights and so many conflicts happening. That's why things do not work out. A lot of times you compromise. You never felt connected, and you don't feel that you're with the right person. That is why you're not able to be compatible. So there are many reasons why the sexual compatibility is not there, which is related to the mental health of the person.
Good.
Also, even sexual compatibility is of many kinds. Some people don't want any deep compatibility. Some people want deep compatibility. So that is why having open, honest conversations about everything will just make you understand that, is this my person? Can I talk to him or her about anything? When you can be so open and honest, then you'll figure it out. Even if something is wrong, you'll figure it out.
Ma'am, why is it like it's the last thing that the Indian couples want to talk about, the sexual compatibility? Like, even though it seems like it's one of the biggest problems.
Because of the whole thing of, I'll be judged. Because I've been raised in a society where my needs have been shrinked. I've always been asked to adjust. And if I'm asking for anything, especially this is such a surface level thing. And this life is long, life is bigger, and you're not supposed to, get stuck on the surface. And this is such a surface level thing, but it is not. It is not a surface level thing, whether it's emotional, mental, financial, physical, all compatibilities are very important. In fact, emotional and physical compatibility is more important than anything else in a marriage. So in India, we just are not trained to be open. We are trained to be very closed off and not ask for much shrink your needs and just look at surface level things, because you are in a rush to just get people settled. The whole idea of my children are still not settled is very high on Indian parents' mind, where they feel they feel like a failure if their children are not settled. And also there's a lot of taboo around being open and talking about feelings and sharing. Sexual feelings are 10 steps ahead. Even your regular emotional feelings of, I don't like this, I like this, I want this, I don't want this, I'm happy with this makes me sad, this makes me unhappy. Even those feelings are discouraged. So sexual feelings are still very closed off. But yes, the youth today is definitely understanding themselves a little better.
Okay.
And they are being more expressive, at least to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they understand themselves better, they're more self-aware. So I'm hoping that, they are more ready to, have better conversations with partners going forward.
Like, ma'am, in a lot of things, families do get involved when, a couple is about to get married or planning to get married. And as we keep growing, there's a lot of pressure ki, bade ho rahe ho, log kya bolenge, take a decision. How much of involvement of parent or a family in a couple should be there and shouldn't be there? What is the boundary to it? Because we come from an Indian, like Western philosophy is like, you guys are married, it's your life, you guys figure it out. But in India, there is definitely an involvement. You come from a joint family, or either you live in a nuclear family. There is an involvement of family. What is the boundary for that? And what do you believe about it?
The boundary is that, you give your children space to, handle their own conflicts, handle their own choices, make their own choices. There's a family unit, then there's a couple unit inside the family. So you stay in the family unit where, your own relationship with your son-in-law, with your daughter-in-law, with your sister-in-law, with your brother-in-law, you kind of definitely be out there and manage your own relationships, overlap your time and overlap your energies for the family unit. But when it comes to the couple unit, you should just leave everything on them.
Okay.
Because their conflicts, their choices and everything should be theirs. Okay. Yeah, what they're doing outside the couple, like when they're engaging with the family, when they're going out with the family, that's when there can be healthy discussions and, so compared to the West, obviously Indian families are more involved. So that way you can, you can be involved. You can be involved with the stuff where there's commonality.
Okay.
But where the couple is completely exclusively spending their own time, going somewhere on their own, meeting their own friends, having their own space, having their own conflicts. That's not the space where the, family should be involving unless and until asked to.
Aapka kya believe hai, ma'am? Like, is a couple married to each other, or is it a union of two families?
The couple first is married to each other also. There is one unit which is only a couple unit, and there's also union of families. But the internal unit is also very strong, which we shouldn't shake. Okay. And then there is the same thing with while we are growing up also. We are an individual and there's family. And the family is very important. But you are also an individual who should be able to, have your own needs, feelings, and be able to develop your own individual identity. So only then you feel safe enough to be yourself and confident enough to step out in the world. If you are just going in the shadows of your family, you will somewhere, keep repeating the same patterns which your family did, good and bad both. So for you to individuate, you need to be your own self. Similarly in a couple, when you become a couple, you should be able to do things, as a unit where nobody else is involved. Talk about your feelings, make your choices, spend your own time, make your own decisions, have your own dreams, and resolve your own conflicts. While the families also get to spend a lot of time with the couple, maybe compared to, a lot of other cultures. Indian families do a lot of more things together, but because they end up living together. A lot of them live in very close proximity and live together. So that part is a different thing. That's a lifestyle choice. Okay. You live together, you cohabitate. So that's so families are also coming together. But at the same time, that shouldn't be disturbing the inside couple unit. Their own space is their own space. Their own emotions, their own conflict, their own dreams are theirs. And on the periphery, yes, on a daily basis also, if you're living together, if you're in close proximity, you get involved. But that's more like a family time rather than, getting involved in the couple's life.
So, ma'am, like some people, they know their flaws. They know they have temper. They know they react in a certain way. How should a person look at themselves, and what should they look for in that partner then?
So if you're specifically talking about anything that, a person is aware of, that itself is huge, big step towards healing. Because the biggest thing towards healing is self-awareness. Okay. So the more you get to know yourself, you would be able to find ways to manage your emotions, so manage your temper. And because what is anger? It is something that, comes with not being able to express your emotions and regulate your emotions. So the more you understand yourself, you can do that better. And what you should be looking at from a partner's perspective is be able to give you the safe space to be able to express your emotions, to be able to understand from where you're coming, and have the patience and understanding that this person means no harm. And he or she is here just as any other fallible human being, because all of us have flaws. So nobody's perfect, and you're not going to end up finding, if you're not with this person, it'll be somebody else with a own sheet of flaws.
Okay.
So see them only as unhealed parts of the person, which needs more presence and care from your partner, and obviously accountability and responsibility from the person's side also. So a person who's walking into a relationship saying, I have these issues, but I'm working on it, and I'm open to feedback, but at the same time I want you to be supportive and understanding, so that I don't feel threatened by judgment, and I feel safe enough to keep working on myself.
Ma'am, it's often seen or often said, men chase women and women choose men. So what happens when it's other way around? When one partner is chasing and one partner is choosing, does the partner who's chasing loses his value?
See, somewhere it does become a power dynamic.
Okay.
Where the chase is what is exciting, and if anybody is chasing, whether it's a man or a woman, the initial rush for a few weeks is a different thing. But if it's anything more than that, you're getting, even when you're getting into a safe relationship, you're getting into commitment, and there's still these dynamics of somebody chasing and somebody choosing. Then it will be a power struggle where you're not able to be yourself, you're not able to be honest, you're not able to relax, you're always on the lookout that now what should I do, now what should I do, now what should I do. There is more pretension. So the safer thing to do and the emotionally mature thing to do is, yes, in the beginning some chase is good, but very soon you should get settled into being yourself, and I'm like this, and I would like to work on the things which make you feel uncomfortable, but you should be equally invested. So there should be equal investment from both sides, and there shouldn't be any chasing or any choosing. Both should choose themselves first and then each other. For the high of the initial weeks, it's okay either way. Both the genders, it's totally all right, because sometimes it takes some people to some more time. Some people are shy, some people are avoidant, some people don't take the initiative. So the first few weeks, it's all right, but the chase has to stop, and it shouldn't be the dynamics of a relationship.
Ma'am, off late, even the social media part, or even in Instagram reels, or it is such hyped thing, like the way it is presented, like one partner is chasing, one partner is being manipulative, one partner is gaslighting, What are these terms? Like, what is gaslighting? What is stonewalling? What are these things in a relationship, and how can these things be addressed?
So a lot of times, we are very comfortable to give labels to things. Just because, it feels safe to, okay, this is happening, so let me call this gaslighting. This is happening, so let me call this manipulation. So you just feel safe to, label the partner, and you're not able to see that, there's a dynamic involved. You're also involved in that. That's why something is happening from there. So I would first call out and say it's not okay to be abused in any way. So if there's some real gaslighting, manipulation and control, then definitely you should watch out for the signs. But easily using these terms to describe your relationship could just make you blindsided into your own patterns. Because a lot of times when you say my partner is gaslighting, or my partner is controlling, my partner is abusive, my partner is manipulative, in today's Instagram culture, what might be happening is that you might be using these terms just to disguise your own feelings, that what am I contributing, what am I doing, so where is this circle ending into me feeling that the other person is gaslighting me feeling that the other person is manipulating me. So we should be able to see our own patterns, what we're bringing into the relationship. Only then we can label our partners. But yes, if there is a clear pattern of any abuse, like gaslighting would mean, something like making you feel that, what you're speaking is not the reality, and the reality is being totally twisted. And you're convinced again and again that your feelings are invalid, your needs are invalid, and your version of the story is invalid. And this happens over and over again over a period of time, so repetitive to call it gaslighting. Otherwise, it's just, not being able to communicate well, and you not being able to express well. So there could be something else happening in the dynamic which might be termed as gaslighting. And similarly, manipulation, always strategizing something and planning something and trying to get some kind of a reaction from your partner and making everything about yourself. So these kind of manipulative, gaslighting, narcissistic tendencies do exist in people, and we should watch out for them. But they're not as commonly happening as it's been felt in the Instagram culture. So while you should not silently suffer in any abuse, which would be full of control, domination, and neglect. So abuse would more be seen when you're feeling dismissed, you're feeling controlled, you're feeling neglected, you're feeling like you cannot take up space, and no matter how much you're trying, you just feel the same again and again. Once you see that you're not causing anything and this is continuously happening, then you might want to understand that is this abusive. You can talk to somebody to understand is this abusive. But every other communication problem going wrong, every other relationship situation going wrong is not gaslighting and manipulation and strategizing. It is a couple not being able to sort out their communication problems and what they are bringing into the relationship as well.
It makes me think of a few things, Richa ma'am. Like, जैसे क्या हो जाता है, people have their own fears, people have their own traumas. Sometimes their anxiety takes over and they react in a certain way. Initial phases, it scares the partner, but overall, but even in the longer run, it's a problem. So when issues like these, they have them themselves, like they will be aware कि यार मुझे ये हो रहा है. In a long term, what is it needed from a partner to support that?
So the same thing like we had discussed earlier, that just openness and curiosity to want to know, genuinely want to know rather than judging and labeling. So if you really want to know why this person is behaving like this and what does he or she need from me, and is he taking accountability, is he taking ownership, and is he willing to work on himself, and what can I do to support, and what are my needs which are not being met, how can I express them better, and what are my boundaries which I'm not able to draw, how can I draw them better. So you seeing what you can do better and you being open and honest about your partner will bring in a real dynamics of how this relationship is going. And after that also, if you feel that there is a lot of anxiety or anger or something which is scary, then you should really draw a line and make a choice that are you in the right place for your own self. But in the beginning, a lot of things happen because we're not comfortable talking about things openly, and our needs are not met from both sides, and we're not able to understand each other. So that is why a lot of things happen. It's not so only because one person has issue. It is a communication style. Like, very commonly we are seeing that one partner is avoidant and one partner is anxious. Okay. So in that situation, the avoidant person is very scared of losing themselves. The anxious person is being very scared of being abandoned or humiliated. So in this case, both have fears. It's just that they're running in the opposite direction. So the anxious person can give more space and reassurance to the partner that it's okay, you take your space, I'm there for you, and I'm not going anywhere, and you can be yourself. And the avoidant person should keep reassuring that I'll come back, and this is just a break that I need for this one night or this 1 hour or 15 minutes. I just need to process my feelings and come back. So rather than saying you are like this, you just see what you can do better, how you can communicate better, reassure better. And all of this you can do if you're comfortable with your own feelings. You share, and you become curious in knowing what the other person wants from you.
Ma'am, there are individuals who are highly ambitious, and there are some individuals who are just okay with everything. But people who are highly ambitious, how do they manage their work, their personal life?
See, it is as long as they know what they're doing,
okay,
you can manage everything. So if you're just ambitious because you're scared of something, Achha. You're scared of losing out, or you're competing with somebody else, or there are some other pressures, insecurities and fears, then you wouldn't know how to balance it out. Okay. But if you're just ambitious, then you should be open about it with your partner. And your partner would support you and understand you ideally, and how much time you can give to the relationship, and what you need from your partner in terms of because it's all about understanding each other's needs, because you have dreams together as a couple, but you also have your own individual dreams. And a good relationship encourages a partner to be their own individual self, and there's no sense of competition that the relationship comes first, and your needs are not important. The relationship comes first, but also your needs are also important. So both going together hand in hand, where your individual dreams are also as important as the relationship, you'll be able to succeed in your ambition and your relationship as well. So as long as it's coming from the right place, it's coming from desire and not from fear and pressure, you can communicate your ambition and your needs to your partner and your dreams to your partner. And if they feel secure enough with you that their needs are also being met, then yeah, they both can go hand in hand. It all depends on how much understanding that there is between the couple.
That sounds actually very good, because a lot of time people hear this thing ki, like either one of the part has to be compromised. When you're choosing your work, then your personal life is compromised, or whether you're choosing your personal life, then work is somewhere compromised. But listening this, it has to come to a balance.
Yeah, it has to
Yes.
come to a balance where you understand what is important, like in terms of like if there's a need of the hour, like one day maybe your partner really needs you, so you might be able to take out extra time that day to be with your partner. Or maybe sometimes you could take some 10 days off and be with your partner. So somewhere knowing and letting your partner know that you are a priority. While I love my work and I'm not going to compromise on it, because that's what gives me a sense of purpose. But you're important to me, and I will keep choosing you again and again and connecting with you again and again. So small bits of connection, being in touch, connecting, knowing, being curious on a daily basis, keep sending texts, keep being away for some time, while your partner knows that this is important for you, but they can reach out to you whenever they want. So that partner feeling reassured, and you feeling that you have space to do your thing. It's all about understanding, because something works for some couples, something does not work for some couples. So it's all about knowing that are you able to honestly first know your own needs and feelings and express them. If you are able to, you'll figure it out. Either you'll figure it out with the person that you're currently dating, or you'll find somebody else. But you should not be scared of your own dreams and passions and feelings and emotions. And you should keep knowing yourself better, keep pausing, thinking and expressing, while also giving the same amount of respect to the other person's needs and feelings, and listening to what they want to say and being curious about them.
You've been talking to people from different continents.
Yeah.
How is it different from, like, what kind of conversations might be going on in a country like USA, or probably UK or Australia, and in India? What is the culture difference you see?
There is a lot of boundaries that couples have outside of India, because they spend a lot of time alone, without so much family pressure and all of that. So they have a lot of boundaries, but at the same time they have similar problems. Couples across have similar problems. So when it comes to the pressure part, the fear part of what will people think, that definitely is higher in India, and that kind of diminishes as you cross the continent and the country. But the other aspects where you have fears of not being seen, not being heard, not being supported, not being understood, those are the same everywhere. So not being able to communicate honestly and be honest with your own feelings is a problem everywhere. And that's not coming from Indian culture. That's coming from childhood patterns of how you've adapted. Because everybody has survival ways of, adapting to through your childhood and, becoming who you are today, which helps you, which helps you succeed, which helps you find your happiness, which helps you with everything. But as you grow up, it becomes limiting. Because if you, like, for example, if, somebody's a perfectionist, maybe they held a lot of responsibility as a child, and that pushed them to always look out for doing things right and being responsible and tuning into other people's needs and feelings too much, and not being able to let go. And that became a pattern in their adulthood as well. And being able to get self-aware and start knowing yourself better and doing things as you wish and letting go of these patterns is something which every human everywhere in all cultures has to do, and you need. And in relationship spaces, these things become easier to heal, because these spaces are created when you were a child along with your parents. So in relationships with somebody else as intimate or maybe more intimate in some situations than your parents, propels all these roles, and you have to find a way to be yourself and be curious about your partner. This problem is there everywhere, and the solution is the same everywhere: listening, regulating, pausing, talking, sharing and communicating.
Regulation is a very important word, ma'am.
Yeah.
So how does, like, what are the tools of every individual regulating themselves, especially when in a couple dynamics?
It comes with self-awareness. The more you start understanding your body and how you react, how your body tenses, how your mind races, you get cues from your body and your mind to pause. You pause, and then you kind of access choice, and you talk from your own perspective, which you really want to, because sometimes you're just saying something or doing something which is coming out of a state of fight or flight. You're in that state where you're not regulated, your nervous system is not regulated, and you're not feeling safe, so you say things, or you shut down, or you don't say things. So when you're getting tense, your muscles are tensing, your body is quickening, your mind is quickening, your breath is getting shallow, you should pause, and you should access choice. You should stop there, right there. It's okay to take time, but access choice and process and say what you actually want to say. And how your partner can help is take those cues, give you space, give you support, be curious, ask you questions, not be dismissive, not be judgmental. And there is co-regulation also. How there's regulation, there's co-regulation also. Sometimes, when this is happening, with good glances, with touch, with proximity, or saying I understand, giving you that eye contact, you can help your partner regulate and open up and talk.
Ma'am, before getting married or something, do you advise individuals to have a good conversation with their parents, and what those conversations could be to help the marriage sustain better or future or whatever?
If you're able to have clarity in your own self, then you should understand what your boundaries are with your parents. And then, yes, the more you have clearer expression of what you want and your boundaries about what you want, then you can have those conversations with your parents where you can express that this is how I feel, this is what I want to do, and this is how I need your support. And so conversations with parents become easier if you know yourself.
Okay.
You have clarity of thought. This is the support I need from my parents. This is where I feel unsupported by my parents. This is where I feel my boundaries are being disrespected by my parents. This is where I feel are unresolved issues with them. Or this is where I feel that, something makes me angry with them, or something makes me avoid them, or something makes me want to stay away from them. So the more you start understanding yourself, the better conversations you can have with everyone, including your parents. So before marriage, yes, if you're able to have good conversations with your parents, it helps you not go ahead looking for a partner with pressure and fear, because okay, I have my parents on my side.
Okay. अगर एक इंडिविजुअल को आपको बताना रहे कि ये 3 things तुम अपने पेरेंट्स से बात करो शादी होने से पहले, which is good for your marital life and with your relationship with your parents, because what would those 3 things you would advise them on?
It would be about boundaries, something to start with boundaries, that reassuring them that you've always been a big part of my life, and I would continue to respect you and love you the way I always did, and I'm grateful for the life that I have with you, but I'm stepping into this new life with my partner, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of insecurities and conflict from both sides, and you should always know that I'm there for you, and just let me figure this out, give me the space that I need, and support me and my partner, come together and live a life together, and whatever there is, talk to me in our own isolation, in space which is not in front of the partner, and try to accommodate her or him. And if there's anything, let's just talk openly about it.
One of the things that come to my mind, since we've been talking about many areas, money is like most avoided conversation before marriage, especially in the Indian societies. Why are we so uncomfortable talking about our finances with the person we want to spend our whole life with?
It's all about being uncomfortable about having difficult conversations. Money is a difficult conversation.
Okay.
Money is a difficult conversation. Childhood experiences, emotions are difficult conversations. Talking about future, children, everything is difficult conversation. So we don't talk about anything, physical intimacy. We don't talk about anything because we just want it to be romantic.
Okay.
We want it to be easy. We want it to be smooth. So anything that we speak about which creates a little awkwardness, little what will she think about me, what will he think about me, will I let my family down, or it's okay, after marriage anyway people will understand each other, in any way things work out on its own. So we don't want to make, we romanticize because of the way we have been brought up, Bollywood culture or Hollywood culture. We romanticize meeting a person and falling in love and living happily ever after so much that we want to just avoid difficult conversation because we do not want to unromanticize it. That is one reason. Other reason is that, like I've told you earlier, that we have just been asked to adjust.
Yeah.
and it's okay. Don't make a big deal out of it. Things will work out on its own. Don't think too much. Don't worry too much, and it's all in your head and all that kind of stuff. So as a society, we've been just asked to compromise and adjust. So we don't think it matters what we think and what we feel. So because it does not matter what we think and what we feel, then all these issues are small. Physical intimacy is small, money is small. It's all expected that, you know, this has to be done, that has to be done. Like, you have to have children. So nothing is individualistic. It's all like said and done. Everybody has to do this. You know, whatever it is, you just have to adjust. So one, you do not want to unromanticize things. Second, you're not used to being comfortable with your own feelings and talk about them because you've always been shrinking yourself. On the surface, being okay and not being able to have open conversations with anybody to start with. So if you've had open conversations with your parents while growing up, if you've had open conversations with your siblings while growing up, it's easier to have these open conversations with the girl or the guy you meet. But if you've not been used to the idea of open conversations ever, to a large extent, it's very difficult to just start opening up. That too with something very sensitive like money, because money is sensitive because, you know, anything which is, which can create discrepancy or power dynamics is a sensitive topic. Like, not only money, let's talk about anything. Household responsibilities and chores. Who will do what? Gender roles. Everything is a sensitive topic. Talking about anything related to future which is not related to how to plan the marriage or where to go, what to wear, what to do, everything else is going to be a sensitive topic because it requires listening, sharing, having conflict and repairing. So we don't want, because we risk, we don't have the capacity to you know, say that it's okay. If I have this conversation, if she does not like it, we'll be able to repair. We can come back to each other. We can keep coming back to each other. That security is not there. We always fear that I will be judged, I will be dismissed, I will let my family down, or I will lose this relationship. I will have to go through this whole process again.
Yeah.
So you just don't want to go through any discomfort. In this, the more we are growing, going forward, we might think that, you know, we are becoming more progressive as a society. We are, but the tolerance towards discomfort is still a problem. Whatever is uncomfortable, we want to avoid it because we just want life to be easy. We want everything to just go smooth because we have not been given tools on how to deal with discomfort. So that is emotional regulation, you know, pausing, processing, expressing, regulating, repairing. These things have not been taught because of not being in touch with our emotions while growing up, not being able to have these open conversations while growing up.
There is an interesting point you raised about the power dynamics. Like, does financial dependence inside a relationship, you know, changes the power dynamic between the two people?
It does if there is lack of acknowledgement of what roles we are playing. See, there are so many roles that, you know, we play. There is a financial role.
Okay.
There is a physical role.
Okay.
There's an emotional role. There's a mental role. So all the four roles are as important as the other. So if one person is taking care of a lot of finances, what is the other person doing is also important to see. Is she or he working, especially in Indian culture, is she working on, you know, keeping the relationship together and taking care of the emotional, mental load of the relationship? Mental load would be planning vacations, planning the routine, planning the social life, seeing what to do, where to go, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Emotionally soothing. What are you doing? Who's soothing whom? Are you present for each other emotionally? Are you supporting? Are you making each other feel seen and understood and heard? Physically, you know, who's doing more physical labor in the house? So if there is a open discussion and you know that who's doing what, then the power dynamics are not very, you know, up and down. But if these are not discussed, then yes, largely people feel who's taking care of finances is more powerful, is taking more load. But that's a very blindsided concept because the load is shared in these four categories equally and we have to see who's doing what. And that's why the open conversation help us not have these power dynamics and create more equality and more commitment and more support in the relationship.
What happens to someone's confidence and their voice when they become financially dependent on the partner? What happens to them?
Again, it all depends on, you know, how much confidence they have in themselves. So if they know, if they feel secure about themselves that, you know, I add value. I know who I am. I add value and I know that I'm holding this relationship equally well. And I know that this relationship is good because of me. This is what I bring to the table. then the confidence might not really come down if there is financial dependency. But if it's the other way around, where you are not sure about who you are, you do not have a clear sense of your identity and self concept, and you feel finances are everything, then yes, then you would lose your self respect, and you would just adjust and shrink your needs and compromise, and then not be able to communicate, and then carry the weight of the relationship on your shoulder, feeling like the other person is not contributing. So ironically, the other person is also contributing, but because they're contributing financially and maybe mentally, maybe emotionally, but because your self-esteem is so low, you're not able to see their contribution, and silently you might be sinking with the weight of I'm not enough, and then there's emotional disconnection.
This part has been a major part of Indian culture, ma'am. But probably, I don't know, especially the ladies who have been
Yes.
housewives or men who have not been working. And when there are ladies who stepped up and started working and doing so great. How much of that transition has happened, or how much you have seen in this 20 years? Ki changes kya kya aaye hain? Is there anything that better in the society that has happened in terms of the dependency and respect and acknowledgement?
I think with women working and with women getting educated and taking up equal roles as men in the society, confidence in women has definitely increased, where they're able to explore their needs better and emotions better, and ask for what they want, have better boundaries, and understand what is abuse. So it has definitely helped women become more confident. At the same side, men have somewhere in some pockets of society gotten a lot of space into being able to explore their other sides. If they don't have to take the pressure of earning a lot of money, they can look for women who will also equally contribute financially, or maybe not, and if they want to take a break from their careers
Okay.
and explore other aspects, maybe get into entrepreneurship, or maybe just take a few years of break to see what they want to do with life. So there is now support available for that. So it's helped both men and women, for women to be financially independent, because it's helped women become more confident and understand themselves better and their needs and their feelings better, and it's helped men to get the pressure off and have more choice into what they can do with their lives, because earlier the dynamics were clear. A man is a provider and a woman is a nurturer, and there's no other way of looking at it. So now, because gender roles have been more in tuned with the gender roles have been a little dissolved, and you're getting more chance to be more as an individual and explore yourself and build up more confidence in who you are, rather than trying to succumb to the pressures of what people want from you. So what people will think about you. So your self-esteem is definitely increasing with more freedom to choose what you want to do with your gender roles, and not necessarily be a provider or a nurturer, or both, or just figure it out as a couple, what do you want to do with each other.
Ma'am, someone is watching this right now, thinking about saying yes to someone they like, but they're not sure. What is that one honest question they should ask themselves before they should decide, ma'am?
Someone watching this right now should just think that, what do I feel? Do I feel scared? Do I feel pressured? Or do I really like this person? How does this person make me feel? Do I feel like myself with this person? Am I feeling like I can be myself, I can share, I can be honest? Or am I pretending out of pressure, fear? So the answer is in your own self. It's not in the tick box list that you have, that is she this, is she that, is he this, is he that. The answer is looking within yourself and not looking outside. How do you feel with this person? What does this person make you feel? So if the more honest you get with yourself, the quicker you'll be able to find a partner for yourself. The sense of urgency is taken off. The more the honesty comes, the faster the process is.
I think this has been a fabulous learning. Like, you have to be yourself, no sense of urgency, and take it slow. Have more of communication, understand better.
Yes, right.
Be yourself.
Be yourself, and ask the right questions to yourself. Keep pausing, keep knowing yourself better, and also be open to knowing the other person and listening and being curious.
Well, I think we'll have a lot more episodes to cover on different topics. I think this is going to be one whole different segment we would like to explore. But genuinely, thank you for your time today, and heartfelt. I've been known you for 8 years, and this conversation was something I was cherishing throughout the time we were having this call.
It was all my pleasure. It was great being here.
Nah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.